Welcome to the Gavel, everyone, and compliments of the season from the entire crew of the Gavel and indeed management and staff of Channels Television. Thank you for trusting and staying with us through 2025 and over the years. 2026 promises to be even better for you and us. I'm Terry Kumi. Welcome to the Gavel once again. Now, Parliament is on holiday till much later in January. But within the week, Tuesday the 23rd to be precise, both chambers separately held a session specifically to attend to the 2024 and 2025 budget repeal and reenactment as requested by President Bola Tinubu. Now, for those who may not understand what that means, the capital components of the 2024 and 2025 budgets have been running due to funding issues. And ahead of the 2026 appropriation bill presented to the National Assembly, the President had written a letter to the National Assembly seeking to repeal the 2024 Appropriation Act of 35.06 trillion naira and reenact it with a revised total expenditure of 43.56 trillion naira. And for 2025, the President proposed reducing the budget from 54.99 trillion naira to 48.32 trillion naira, while extending it to 31st of March 2026. The President explained that this was part of a broader fiscal reform measure aimed at eliminating overlapping budgets and strengthening planning, execution, and accountability across government expenditure cycles. The bills would also accommodate expenditure items not previously recognized and introduce a revised capital implementation target of 30%. And according to the President, extending the 2025 budget would ensure full release of the 30% capital allocation to ministries, departments, and agencies, improving project execution and budget performance. Now, in the House of Representatives on Tuesday, the reports on the 2024 and 2025 budgets were presented by the chairman of the Appropriations Committee.
The House do consider the report on the Committee on Appropriation on a Bill for an Act to repeal the Appropriation Act 2024 and enact to authorize the issues from Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation the total sum of 43,561 billion 41,744,507 naira, of which 1,742 billion 786 million 788,150 only is for statutory transfers. 8,270 billion 960 million 606,831 naira only is for debt servicing. 11,268 billion 513 million 380,853 only is for recurrent non-debt expenditure, while the sum of 22,278 billion 780 million 968,673 only is for capital expenditure development fund contribution for the year ending 31st December 2025.
Beginning with the issue and appropriation of 43,561,041,744,507 from the Consolidated Revenue Fund for 2024. Carried. 2. Release of funds from the Consolidated Revenue. Carried. Environment. Carried. Corrigendum. Carried. Excess revenue. Carried. Authorization. Carried. Or information on funds releases. Carried. Due process certification. Carried. Information on internally generated revenue, domestic and foreign assistance. Carried. Power of Nigerian embassies and missions. Carried. Detailed estimate. Carried. Expiration Constitution 1999. Carried. Short title. Carried. Schedules. Under schedules, we have aggregate revenue inflow. Carried. We have expenditures. Carried. We have share of federation revenues. Carried. We have deductions. Carried. We have net of federation revenues. Carried. Independent revenues. Carried. Dividends carried. Aids and grants carried.
In the Red Chamber, the report of the 2024 and 2025 Appropriation Acts, Repeal and Re-Enactment bills were presented during plenary by the Senate Chairman on Appropriations.
And the breakdown of the makeup of the 43.5 is contained in the report, while 2.02 has to do with the repeal of 2025 Appropriation Act of 54.990 trillion and replacing it with the sum of 48.316 trillion. The breakdown of this 48.316 trillion is also contained in the body of the report, while the reduction from 54.48, this was as a result of moving 70% of 2025 capital into 2026, as clearly stated during the presidential budget presentation. And that is clearly stated in 3.0, which has to do with the economic team appearing before the committee to give us an idea as to why they are repealing and reenacting the two budgets. And the highlight of the bill is contained in 4.0, which has to do with the highlight of 2024 Appropriation Act, the repeal and enactment, and 2025, as stated below. The first one, under the 4.01, we have the aggregate expenditure, the statutory transfer, and all other components of the 43.5 trillion naira for 2024. While 2025 also, which is contained next, which has to do with the 4.316 trillion naira. Also the component, the statutory transfer, the debt servicing, the recurrent expenditure and capital expenditure is contained. The 5.0 clearly states the observation and findings of the committee, which I would like to go through into detail. The committee made the following observation and finding during their engagement with the economic team, that under the 2024 Appropriation Act, the repeal and enactment, an additional 8.5 trillion was introduced into the capital component of 2024 Appropriation Act to accommodate special intervention, particularly in response of security, humanitarian, and economic emergencies that confront the country during the period under consideration. While two, the repeal and enactment seek to balance the responsiveness with fiscal responsibility, ensuring that urgent expenditure do not weaken legislative oversight and undermine the fiscal procedure.
The bill subsequently passed just like the House. Also in the Senate on Tuesday, the 2026 appropriation bill was up for debate as it was scheduled for second reading.
This bill is the legal instrument through which the policy direction outlined by the President in his 2026 budget address is translated into enforceable public expenditure. It is, therefore, central to governance, economic management, and national development in the coming fiscal year. The bill is deemed to have been read the first time by virtue of its being laid before the joint session of the National Assembly on Friday, 19 December 2025. Macroeconomic context. Mr. President and distinguished colleagues, the President's budget address was frank and frankly about the fiscal environment confronting the nation. The economy is in a phase of adjustment following far-reaching reforms aimed at restoring stability, correcting distortions, and strengthening public finance. I move that the 2026 Appropriation Bill 2025 be read for a second time.
Lawmakers highlighted strong concerns regarding its implementation.
Our committees on Defense, Army, Navy, Air Force, we have to ensure that they understand that this money being appropriated is meant to ensure prudent procurement, appropriate remuneration, and ratio payment to our men and women in uniform who are taking all the risk so that Nigeria may be safer. They need to be assisted to move away from the not too happy past where our main evil government, I listened to a former president saying that he had a report that suggests that insurgents were better equipped than Nigerian army. That should not be the case. And this is not something we need to lament away. We need to deal with it squarely by ensuring that through our appropriate committees that deal with various arms of the Ministry of Defense, that our men and women are not only better trained, they should be seen to be better armed, not with AK-47 with limited ammunition. I think that is where the devil lies. And under your leadership, we should have the courage to open up and ensure that proper procurement is done and Nigeria gets value for money.
The four main things which Mr. President has set out to achieve. Number one, which is extremely fundamental, the role of government, the primary security of lives and property. 5.4 trillion has been earmarked for this infrastructure. 3.5 trillion has been earmarked because without adequate infrastructure, the business, society, or economy can't thrive. On education, 3.5 trillion. On health and social services, 2.48 trillion. My plea is that this budget should be well implemented, exceeding the implementation of the last year's budget.
The bill eventually scaled second reading.
A bill for an act to authorize the issue from the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation the total sum of 58 trillion 472 billion 628 million 944,759 naira only, of which 4 trillion 97 billion 381 million 103,856 naira only is for statutory transfers, and 15 trillion 909 billion 361 million 631,657 naira only is for debt service, and 15 trillion 251 billion 538 million 827,423 naira only is for recurrent non-debt expenditure, while the sum of 23 trillion 214 billion 347 million 381,824 naira only is for contribution to the development fund for capital expenditure for the year ending 31st day of December 2026. Second reading taken. This bill is now committed to the Committee on Appropriation to revert to the Senate in 1 month.
Welcome back to the Gavel. In the House of Representatives, 6 Rivers State lawmakers loyal to the FCT minister defected to the majority All Progressives Congress on Tuesday. The defections came days after 4 members of the House who were loyal to Governor Siminalayi Fubara defected to the APC as well. And during Tuesday's plenary session, the Speaker read the 6 letters from lawmakers loyal to the FCT minister, informing the House of their defection to the majority APC. So far, 9 out of the 11 PDP Rivers lawmakers in the House of Representatives have now joined the APC, leaving 2 behind, the minority leader Kingsley Chinda and Representative Kelechi Nwogu.
My dear colleagues, I want to restate that the ceremony that just took place before the House should be expunged from our records that it never happened. The reason is that I will challenge any one of us to show me anywhere in our law that requires that you need to come to the floor of the House for you to move from one political party to the other. There is no law like that, I keep saying. If anyone is interested in moving, yes, you have a constitutional right to change your association, but you go back to your word. Go back to your word and take the necessary step and do not belabor us in Parliament with these leaders. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to say consistently, I want to say, thank you. Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, I will still want to ask that you show me. My dear colleagues, we learn every day. And so this is one area that I want you to teach me. I want to see the relevant law or rules that require that you continue to perform this ceremony on the floor of the chambers.
As for the ceremony you're talking about here, it doesn't have to be a law. Any member who is changing his party has the right to tell the assembly that he is no longer a member of so-so party, he is moving to another.
Meanwhile, 2 River State lawmakers in the Senate who are loyal to the FCT minister also joined the defection train.
In the interest of effective representation and my continuous contribution to national progress, I hereby align with the governance of the day that is steady, steadfast, and focused under the leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu GCFR. I have resolved, therefore, to formally today join the All Progressives Congress. I respectfully request my colleagues to understand I thank my former party, the fractured People's Democratic Party, for affording me the first opportunity to enter the red chambers. The PDP has unresolved issues, divisions at the national, divisions at the state, divisions at the local government, and divisions even at the ward levels. 2 of our great colleagues from the other side of the aisle, distinguished Senator Orwell and distinguished ranking Senator Barinada Mpigi, crossing carpet to join us here in the APC caucus. All those, again, who are trying to insinuate that we are trying to turn Nigeria to a one-party state should please recognize the fact that nobody is joining our party under any form of coercion.
Well, River State still has 3 lawmakers who have not defected from the PDP, 2 in the House and 1 in the Senate. Moving on, it's time now for Constituency Focus. Let's talk to Representative Lanre Okunla, who represents Surulere 2 Federal Constituency of Lagos State in the House of Representatives.
I guess that for me, this almost 2 years now has been very eventful, and I must say my midterm scorecard is in the public domain for people to see. I've laid on the floor of the House 15 critical bills that are pertinent and important to my constituents, and I have another 4 other ones going through rules and business, and so hopefully we should be looking at 19 bills. So these are bills that affect my constituents, that affect Lagos State, and affect Nigeria. So, and as a lawmaker, I must say that for me, what are the policies we need to put in place for good governance? What are the policies we need to put in place for economic gains that would help in making sure that Nigeria is a country where you can rely on that is self-sustenance? And what are the policies we can, as members, be looking at in terms of security, architecture of this nation? Because, that is one critical aspect of our life that is very pertinent now, where we are all yearning for peace. And I must say that the government of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the president of Nigeria GCFR, has been so gracious to making sure that our country is safe again. We're beginning to feel the presence of making sure that things are done and are done accordingly. For me, as a lawmaker, the pressure is also there on us to see what we can facilitate to our constituents and all that. And I'm sure that in that area, we've positioned it in three perspectives: short, medium, long term. What are the short things we can do for our constituents in terms of empowerment, and see how the informal sectors work and all that. So we've been able to do a lot of empowerments for our youths and women to make sure that they also can contribute their own quota to the development of the country. And we've looked at other areas, road infrastructures. We have quite a lot of inner roads that we've actually asked the federal government that is gracious enough to help us in making sure that our road networks are adequately safe and secured in terms of providing solar lights in our environments. And where interventions for transformers are, we've also helped in bringing support to our people in that line. So in the area of making sure that we also contribute our own quota in terms of educational benefits, we have also giving free JAM forms to our constituents. The last one we did was over 1,000. So we're also doing such interventions, and the federal government too has been so gracious in providing grants for our traders, for our artisans, and all that. Over 1,000 of them have benefited from that scheme on its own. So as a lawmaker, I'm sure that this past 2 years has been quite eventful, and I look forward to another wonderful 2 years coming, where we'll be able to say that we'll beat our chest that we've done so well.
For the next 3 weeks, we will dedicate a huge chunk of our time on the gavel to the Electoral Act Amendment Bill passed by the House of Representatives. It's impossible to squeeze in everything into a 3-minute report of the news, so we will give you a chance to see how your representative debated the bill, which is one of the most important pieces of legislation in the 10th Assembly, amid the clamor for improvement in Nigerian elections. Well, that's the gavel. Thanks for watching. Compliments of the season to you. Happy holidays. I'm Terry Kumi. Goodbye.